To fully understand the genesis of our present-day crisis, one must remember that it was only this past March of 2018 when American shale oil producers became profitable. That in turn caused them to boost production, with the U.S. becoming the top producer of oil in the world by September of 2018. All of whom were kept afloat by their belief that they had locked in stable oil prices for both 2019 and 2020. Unlike Russia, that bases its budget on oil being $40 a barrel, that only 1/3 of their economic population depends on. However, the American shale oil industry needs oil to be at $100 a barrel for them to remain profitable. And as U.S. oil production is set to soar past 12 million barrels a day, the Americans have failed completely to note that they are unable to balance the global oil market, as it's beyond their control. Though President Trump tried to aid the U.S. oil industry by his placing made-up sanctions on their competitor oil-producing nations like Russia, Iran, and Venezuela, with Saudi Arabia now being placed in the sanctions crosshairs as well, oil production has only increased, leading to a global supply that now outstrips demand. Made even worse just hours ago when the African oil giant nation of Nigeria announced that it is going to increase its oil production to 1.8 million barrels a day in 2019. Of course, we Americans were gleefully proclaiming just months ago that sanctions against their oil producer competitors would drive the price of oil to $100 a barrel. Today, thousands of these once giddy oil producers are now facing bankruptcy, and this is due to oil prices now facing their longest losing streak on record. And they have now officially entered into a bear market territory, as oil prices have plunged more than $20 a barrel since the start of October 2018. With the Southeast Asian nation of Malaysia being the proverbial canary in the coal mine as oil prices continue their historic plunge, it's stark warning that when oil falls below $70 a barrel, it will be quickly followed by a global economic crisis that has been met by a now remaining nameless American energy behemoth who has excited the oil futures industry completely, and whose consequences in turn, exploded the market of natural gas, causing it to double in price, and whose stunning move by this large hedge fund has been characterized by their calling up their broker at 1-800-GET-ME-OUT. These economic experts now warning that this oil price crash is leading to a worldwide debt default, with others likewise warning it's late 2007 for stocks. We all remember what comes next. Of course, no evidence exists that the American people, much less its government, are heeding the Bank of International Settlements, or the Bank of Banks, if you will, warning of the banking crisis to come because of the mess the Western world is in. If we look back in June of 2007, a report titled U.S. Banking Collapse Imminent and warns French banking giant that warned you about the great financial crisis to come because banking giant Bear Stearns was about to collapse and take the rest of the world down with it. But the vast majority of American people chose to believe this.
Back. What am I supposed to just say? Hey, great job? All right, anyway. Okay, Peter writes, should I be worried about Bear Stearns in terms of liquidity and get my money out of there? No, no, no. Bear Stearns is fine. Do not take your money out. This is real. If there's one takeaway other than a plus 400 somewhere, Bear Stearns is not in trouble. I mean, if anything, they're more likely to be taken over. Don't move your money from Bear. That's just being silly. Don't be silly. Bear money's back after the break.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for Stop Trading. Jim Cramer is here. Jim, lot to talk about today. Bear Stearns first, and I know you and I were just talking in the commercial about this letter that you got. It said, Dear Jim, should I be worried about Bear Stearns in terms of liquidity and get my money out of there? That was from Peter. That was a question to you about a week ago. You replied, no, 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 Bear Stearns is not in trouble. If anything, they're more likely to be taken over. You were right about that. Don't move your money from Bear. Maybe you weren't right about that. What do you have to say?
Look, let's understand two things. I said the common stock was worthless on Friday as soon as the thing was at 36, because we then saw, look at the bonds. If you kept your money at Bear, you made out. You got the liquidity. I mean, look, keeping money at Bear I guess I could have closed a run on the bank and say, take your money out of Bear. I guess people could say, hold it. He's not saying take your money out of Bear, keep your money in Bear. He's saying buy the common stock. I mean, what the heck? You want me to say that? I cannot cause a run. It turned out that the Federal Reserve guaranteed the money. I'm not going to tell people to pull money out of these places. The Federal Reserve's guaranteeing the money. They're just not guaranteeing the equity. I got a lot of things wrong in my life, but I do not regret the fact that I said don't take your money out of Bear. Because if you had your money in Bear, you still got it today.
You mean
remember, there's Bear Stearns the Common, and that person was asking about whether to pull the money out of Bear. We got a guarantee. J.P. Morgan is now Bear.
Oh, I see. So you're saying if you're someone who had money that Bear was managing, or you're a hedge fund. Okay.
That's what that question was. I came out and said at 36 the stock was worthless, for heaven's sake. No one was saying that.
Right. So your answer to this is, hey, Aaron, I want to make sure everyone understands. I wasn't saying keep your money in Bear common stock.
Do you know what would happen if I came out and said? Do you know what would happen on this show if I came out and said I want everyone to take their money out of X Bank? Jim Cramer causes a run on X Bank. I mean, that would be stupid, reckless, and wrong because the Fed is guaranteeing it. I mean, we want to play that game. I can give you 5 banks. And I got to tell you, every one of them, I wouldn't want to own the common stock, but I would never take a dime out of the vault, for heaven's sake.
All right. So that there's enough explain what you meant.
Jim Cramer causing a run on X. I'm not going to cause a run on a bank. That's stupid.
Just wanted to give you a chance to respond to this because some people might have interpreted your answer
I didn't cause a run on Bear
Common.
I didn't cause a run on Bear. The Bear common stock I didn't like, but keeping your money at Bear turned out to be 100% right. Everybody got guaranteed by the Fed.
Anybody with hedge fund guys, prime brokerage clients.
Every billionaire got bailed out by the Fed. I mean, sorry, I had a prediction that the
Joe
billionaires
Lewis
would get bailed out.
doesn't seem so happy.
He owns the common, for heaven's sake. There's the common, and there's the account that you have there. I think the common of most of the large banks is worthless.
For Joe Lewis, I don't know.
I have a lot of my money in a bank that I think is worthless, but I think there's absolutely no doubt that the bank itself will make good on mine.
What bank it is. I know what bank it is. All right. I'm not going to say anything about that bank. Let's talk, please, about JP Morgan. I don't want to share the bank that I have my money, but I know the FDIC will back it up.
All that remains now before the economies of both the United States and the European Union implode is what the Americans are going to do to force the price of oil back up, but whose only option to do so is by their destroying, by military might, their oil-producing competitors, as all trade wars throughout history have ended. This, from a just-released study presented to the U.S. Congress, shows it may not be the sanest option as the United States has lost its military edge to a dangerous degree and could potentially lose a war against China or Russia. Findings not surprising to Russian military leaders who were stunned to learn how easy it was to jam NATO and U.S. GPS transmissions during their just-ended war exercise, and who, if attacked, would find these Westerners facing virtual walls of nuclear weapons Russia has deployed all along its border with the European Union, and whose best defense, as it was during the last global financial crisis, is Russia's massive gold reserves that have likewise saved countless Americans from financial ruin in 2007 and 2008, but only for those who listened to true things and know today that indeed winter is coming.